Welcome back to Media 7. We're discussing government music funding and the broadcast beat with NZ On Air's music man Brendan Smythe, government critic Gray Bartlett and Real Groove magazine editor Duncan Grieve. Brendan, we'll start with you because you're the man with the big purse. You've been known to describe criticism of the current structure as a whinge fest. Is that to imply that the current system's beyond improvement?
Did I say that?
You did. You said it to a blogger, actually.
Oh, okay.
He took great umbrage.
No, the system is not beyond modification and improvements. We're constantly looking for improvements.
But you do often seem to be defensive. And I know you get a lot of criticism, particularly ironically at this time of year. But...
Yeah. I mean, New Zealand Music Month is a celebration of New Zealand music, but it is also an opportunity for a great debate about New Zealand music and where it's come from and what's happening with New Zealand music at the moment. And I mean, we don't shy away from debate. We will always answer debate and we will always seek to correct misconceptions about, NZ On Air. But a whinge fest? No, I don't think I used that word.
Well, Gray, you've certainly had a bit to say this month. You described the current funding system as welfareism. What exactly is your beef?
My beef is several things, actually. First, it is certainly non-inclusive of the majority of good genres of music, or the majority that operate in the world of music. And so it's a narrow focus. That's the first thing. Secondly, Creative New Zealand is very reactive, not proactive, and luckily, in speaking to some of the senior advisors, they've agreed with me and they're bringing out, I believe, some new changes in November, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that, seeing it's government controlled in this particular...
Why do you think that focus is? If it is narrow, why is it so narrow?
I haven't got a clue, because the rest of the world have only got to look across the ditch and see that the Australian of the Year, welcomed by Mr Kevin Rudd, was Lee Kernaghan.
But if you look at, honestly, Gray, I've been looking at this today, you look at the big markets. The biggest music genre in America is R&B, which suggests we should be pumping money into Dawn Raid. Biggest genre in Britain is rock music. And the big genre in digital downloads is alternative rock.
I wish I'd brought it in there. I can prove to you that's not correct as of today. The greatest played music, radio played music, is country music, believe it or not. Yeah, and that's a fact.
On the other hand, you look at the state of the country music radio market here, there isn't one.
But that's
Australia going quite well. Well, whose fault is that?
That's the fault of the well, there's several faults. It's partially the industry, partially because I guess government-funded agencies won't listen to the industry and what's happening with it. The people that go and see the concerts, the people that constantly are interested in that. So that's once again the narrow focus. If we gave it a chance, if we said, look, music focus features classical, crossover classical, jazz...
But who's going to play it? There's been half a dozen people who've tried to... There's been half a dozen people who've tried to start country music radio stations.
Please listen to me.
It hasn't worked.
Please listen to me. It doesn't matter who plays it. It's the people who vote with their feet. We know we turned over 1.8 million with a 100% New Zealand country music show called Highway of Legends. I ask you, I rest my case.
But if you look at Australia, I mean, there's a big country music festival there where 200,000 people go.
There's not just one, there's heaps of them.
Yeah.
And the music's played on radio.
We have no country music radio, we don't have the big
festivals. So what are we going to do about it?
There's not the interest.
So what are we going to do?
I'm saying that maybe Brendan's got it right, there isn't the interest.
Oh, no, whoa.
Excuse me.
No. Putting words in your mouth.
I'm not saying that. I mean, hats off to Gray and what he does with the artists that he represents. I mean, it is fantastic, and I know that there is a substantial audience out there for country music.
Well, why don't we do something about it?
No question about that. I mean, NZ On Air, from an NZ On Air point of view, a couple of things. Firstly, we are in the broadcasting business. We're not really in the music business. We are set up under the Broadcasting Act. We're mandated by the Broadcasting Act. We spend vote broadcasting funds. We are totally agnostic, if that's the right word to use, about genre. Totally agnostic about genre. As far as NZ On Air is concerned, New Zealand music is music made by New Zealanders, and it is all fair game. All we ask in return is that we get a meaningful airplay result for the spending of airplay dollars. And Russell's right. Rightly or wrongly, there is no substantial outlet for country music on the radio, and I rue that because I'm a big country music fan myself, but there isn't a radio station dedicated to playing country music. If there was, I think you would see NZ On Air's funding shift to encompass
But I get back. Can I interrupt
country
you?
music.
Excuse me. I understand. I applaud your efforts with New Zealand On Air, especially in the first few years. But the fact is, how do we get to that point? Do we just ignore the fact that the New Zealand radio stations aren't playing it? The reality is that people are wanting to hear it. So what are we going to do about it? You guys are in a position where you have millions of dollars. We have the artists. We've got Paul Sharpton, Aaron Jury. I can go through the list who are being applauded by the CMA and the major players in the American market. But we can't get any traction here.
I'm going to have to go to Duncan because he's been sitting there listening politely.
Yeah.
Is part of the problem, Duncan, that the major purse for the music industry comes from a broadcast funding agency and is so tied to broadcast? Is that an issue?
Well, I think it probably is, in the sense that, I think what both Brendan and Gray are saying is correct. The problem to me is in saying that New Zealand On Air is agnostic, i.e. that it, all it does is reflect the radio stations that we have access to. I mean, the fact is New Zealand commercial radio is pretty much the most moribund conservative arm of the music industry. And if you've got that dictating what the rest of the body is going to do, then obviously all it's going to do is reflect back its own kind of weighed down kind of
Because increasingly things are changing, aren't they? The tastemakers are now on the internet. The focus of music discovery has shifted.
Absolutely. Like, I don't know a single person my age who listens to the radio anymore. I mean, albeit obviously I run in my circle of friends is probably more media savvy than someone out in the provinces, but you've got to say that at some point radio has stopped reflecting the what more kind of interested people are after, and I think more and more it is it's a micro-analysed, very conservative medium that ultimately, are we going to be listening to FM radio in 10 or 15 years? So why are we still in the business now of providing them content?
Would you say that that's a widely held view in the music industry?
Oh, absolutely, I think it is.
I think, the environment is definitely changing. There's no question about that. But radio is not dead yet. I mean, more than 2 million people will tune into a commercial radio station at some stage during any given week. Commercial radio audiences are up. They're up about 12% in terms of the total number of people listening.
But clearly there is the mood for change, Brendan. I mean, you explain, you state your case extremely well, but there does seem to be a feeling of people like Gray, Neil Finn, and that really seemed to start something, didn't it, Duncan?
Yeah.
Why do you think that happened? Why did people pick up on that?
Well, I think that firstly that the main comment which was picked up about Helen Clark at the Music Awards had some resonance to it. I was in the audience that year and I did find it distasteful. When she got up there and talked about Greg Johnson getting, I think she said something like 2,700 spins on US radio, and in a market of that size, of that diversity, I mean, that's less than nothing.
On the other hand, I'm quite puzzled, and I wonder what all of you think about this. Why there is so much depth of feeling and strength of feeling when it's actually a very small budget. You compare the annual budget of all the music funding agencies, about $8 million. Compared to Spark, $115 million a year or something.
Exactly.
Why does it raise
to
these
put
passions?
it into context, NZ On Air is admittedly the biggest player in terms of public funding of music, but NZ On Air is not the only game in town. There is Creative New Zealand, there is Music Commission, the Music Commission with its export focus, Creative New Zealand with its music merit focus. You've got Trade and Enterprise in the export business as well. If you add up all of the public funding on music, it comes to, I can only speak for NZ On Air, it's about $5 million, but if you add the others in, maybe it comes up to about 8 or 9, as you say. But if you put that into the context of something like Spark, which is spending 70 or whatever million dollars.
That's not all it is. I mean, the fact that there's not a lot to go around should make us care more about how it's allocated. It's not like we should go, it's a pittance, so who cares? I think the fact is.
Oh no, what's saying that?
So
but it's an issue
what do we do about it then? I mean, there seems to be a feeling that the Music Industry Commission could do with a better base of support.
It could be, but once again, I get back to the approach, a mature approach to music in New Zealand, as we do just across the ditch, where the ARIA Awards, you notice they have a great respect for each genre of music, and the winners come across from all sectors. Now, let's forget this damn radio bullshit. The reality is, the stars like Hayley Westenra in England give more bang for the buck for the word New Zealand and for New Zealanders than anything else. And the reality
But she's not
is
writing songs,
she's never
is she?
been,
Is she the
but
face
who
of contemporary
cares?
New Zealand?
You don't see on the headlines in the paper, New Zealand song hits the road and da-da-da. You see New
What do
Zealand
you do,
artists.
actually? I mean, publishing is where it's at in the music industry
Yes,
today.
that's part of it. But it's not going to give us real big profile. The profile comes from Hayley Westenra sings out da-da-da.
So, Lee, are you arguing that we should be funding someone like Hayley more?
No, I'm saying what we should be doing is, when we see this is a proactive approach rather than reactive, where screeds of paper have to be filled out and sent into these arts advisors who come from universities who have never done a show that is a business proposition in their lives. And what we need to do is recognise when the people are making the mark, we get on the back of them and support them the next step. And it doesn't matter about the record side of it. I can get artists in American shows at Carnegie Hall just by picking up the phone.
Yeah,
It's not
great.
difficult.
I mean, I'd love to say that we can forget about this airplay bullshit, but in fact we can't. NZ On Air is in the broadcasting business. Our job is to get more songs played on the radio.
I didn't come on here to talk about New Zealand On Air. I
That's
came
a
in to
fact.
talk
But,
about
I mean,
it.
how
Well,
do you...
I'm going to have to stop you because I'm afraid that is all the time we have for the issue. I'm sure we could have talked a lot longer.